everybody. Welcome back to Turnbuckle Bros. I'm your host, Matt Huett. We have a special edition today, special draft edition of the Turnbuckle League that we're all in, that David put together. With us, as always, is my brother, the Lime Ripper, Steve Mutsu, Tyler Enzer from California, David Avens. We got a couple of newbies to the show this week. DodgerBlue and Wade County. We're going to get to know these guys a little bit. We're going to talk about their teams. We're going to talk about this draft that we're all in, this league that we talked about in the last episode. So, David, let's give a quick recap on the league, what it is, and then we're going to get into this draft. So kind of remind the viewers what we got going on here.
Hi. So this is a league where I wanted all the people from this show and also all the people on the advice board who tend to give good advice so we can all test our methods against each other and have stuff to talk about on the show and talk about it on the message boards so everybody can learn from us.
But most of all, talking shit against each other and laying down some big, heavy ass whoopings. Steve, let's just go ahead and get started. Let's talk about your team first. A lot of people don't know this. We kind of stay in touch with each other online in a group chat, and there is a all-time high amount of shit talking going on right now with everybody, with a lot of people on this panel here, with the guy who refuses to show up anymore, Bod, in protest. Steve, let's start off with your team, man. How did your draft go? Tell us about your team.
I thought it went pretty good. I got Joe Morgan. That was a great start to it. I got right off the bat getting Joe Morgan. I don't know, my offense turned out pretty good. I only have 4 starting pitchers, and that's all I'm ever going to have. This is long. I'm not getting another one. If somebody gets hurt, Rob Murphy steps in and becomes my de facto ace. I know I have the best offense in my division for sure. Definitely have that. Probably for quite a bit.
What does your division look like?
Pretty good.
You're in a division with David and Bod, correct? And somebody else?
Craig.
Oh, Craig is also in that division. Oh, so he's talking shit right to your face, Craig. Craig, welcome to the show, Craig, for the first time. Craig is a longtime player on Diamond Mine Online since the beginning. Since Dayne first came up with the idea, hey, should I do this thing? As he was telling us online. So, Craig, welcome to the show, and tell us about your squad and what you think about this league and the draft.
Yeah, so look, I'm a big fan of the limited pools, right? The bigger pool is very formulaic. You can kind of do the same thing. There are very few must-have guys in a 5,000 pool when you can choose from 5,000 people. So when you randomize it to 600 people, and when you have a 25% penalty, as DVD put in there, so you can't do all the changing around. I mean, really, resources are extremely limited. First thing I did, I saw the pool, didn't like the pool on offense at all. Thought the pitching pool was much, much deeper. I thought to myself, I'm going to get my top 3 guys in the lineup. I'm going to punt pitching down the road. I picked 4th. I was hoping Joe Morgan would fall to me. He did not. Obviously, Steve grabbed him as he should. There was even talk on the board like that they were going to take Morgan before the draft even started. I'm shocked that you guys talk so much draft strategy before you make the picks. It drives me nuts. That's okay.
Me too.
And you missed so much of it too. Like
yeah.
That's all right. But Steve, here's the deal, right? You go out and get Morgan. I'm like, well, Morgan crushes people against righties. He's susceptible against lefties. I'm going to get some left-handed arms in my staff. I did that for you, my man, just for Joe Morgan. And I saved down to that Earl Averill.
It's going to work great against DVD too, though. I did I had to get lefties to combat him because I thought, Mark Grace and what's that other guy you had? Elmer Flick.
Elmer Flick.
There's a couple of them, right? Yeah.
That's right.
Actually, our division is pretty loaded.
I think it really is. We've got very low run scoring parks, right? So these games are going to be 3-2, 4-3. You're not going to be able to manufacture runs. You're going to have to string together a lot of hits. You're going to have to go for the long ball. When I saw the one county park, I saw the second county park, I saw the Braves 48-52. I'm like, I've got to go against the grain here. I did Scheib, never really used the park before, could come back to bite me. But when I took Scheib and Jimmy Fox was available, to me, that was an option I had to take. And then very clearly, I got to get somebody who can get on base in front of Fox. That's Tony Phillips. I don't love his price, but in a 600-player pool, you can't be as concerned with value. You have to get people who can get on base. You've got to get people who can knock runs in. If you want to pitch around Fox and Phillips is on base, Stan Spence will hit third against righties. Pie Trainer hit third against lefties. I know the audience doesn't know what the pool was, but it's not a great offensive pool. So we didn't have 100 different options of guys that can, nobody's going to be 7 deep, right? We don't have those kinds of lineups. I don't think Steve is close. We'll see how the pitching holds up, but I think
guys, we have sorry to interrupt you, Craig, but we have a late breaking announcement. Dayne Myers has joined us mid-show.
Dayne in the house.
Dayne, welcome to the show. We're a few minutes in, so hey, you know what? Since you have managed to show up late, let's just get right into it there, Mr. Wolverine. We're talking about our teams, talking about the draft. Dayne Myers, of course, one of the great minds of ImagineSports.com, Diamond Mind Online. Dayne, welcome back. Good to see you, buddy. Hate the hat, but what's going on with your team, bud?
Well, I don't like to talk about brag.
Oh boy! All right,
so
here
I
we
don't
go.
really have
Already.
anything. I don't have anything to say.
Well, brag away. That's what we do on here, Dayne. So,
well, I didn't draft Kenny Lofton. I will say that. I had the smarts not to draft Kenny Lofton.
Oh, we were just talking about Kenny too. All right.
I also had the smarts not to draft Mark Grace with a first-round draft pick.
Oh, another one.
I totally agree with that.
I have to say, Mark Grace has been the most divisive choice, I think, in our private Facebook message group. That
Mark Grace has been the talk of this draft so far. Why? Why
He's a
has
4 or 5
Mark Grace
platoon
been
player.
the talk of this draft?
If DVD didn't take him at 11, I had Grace and Edmonds queued for the turn. And I actually didn't even have a backup plan when I lost Grace. After that, there was nobody, I was chasing my OBP for the rest of the draft and never caught it. So, if I didn't take him, I was going to take him right after you. I was bummed when I saw him go.
If I had followed my value system that I calibrate for the specific pool, I would have taken Grace first overall. He stood out as the best value in the entire pool, and it wasn't even close. I didn't take him because
I guess that makes it time for me to talk about my team since I did take Grace.
All right, DVD, go right ahead.
So I started out for the first 3 rounds taking the players who I thought dominated their position by the most, taking value into account, not just how good, price, not just how good they are. And yeah, that was definitely Grace number 1 by a mile. And then Adolfo Phillips and Melvin Mora, 2 and 3. After that, it got, there were at all the other positions, you could go with a bunch of different players and be about equally happy. So, I did check before the draft even started. Did I want to do my usual 2 ace and 3 swingmen, or did I want to do some other pitching configuration? But no, it was 2 ace and 3 swingmen. So after the first 3 rounds, I then need to make sure that I'm spending enough money on more expensive players so I don't end up with money that I don't know what to do with. So my next 4 rounds were my top 2 pitchers, Morris, who, he's way overrated in real life, but he's at a nice price. And I don't even remember who my other ace was. I remember it's not Monty Stratton because I didn't like his archive stats nearly as much as his live stats, but Tyler looks at archive stats and took him anyway. So maybe I should have taken
And Kovaleski. I don't know. I'm sure you're
Kovaleski is not the second ace. Kovaleski is I took later. He is one of my 3 swingmen, obviously much better than the other 2 swingmen. He's probably going to get, 2 starts in most 9-game sets, but it depends on how many lefties I'm facing. I'm going to make sure that he faces teams that have a lot of lefties in their lineups, if there are any. So it was Morris and my other ace, right. And then it was Elmer Flick and Frankie Frisch. And after that, mostly just looking for players who I thought were good values. Oh, I don't think I'm going to take any lefties for the bullpen, but I wouldn't mind having one more decent reliever, and there is one who's lefty, so all right, go ahead and take him. And basically it's just that. I did mess up a little bit. I saved out some positions where there were multiple price points where I'd be happy for rounds 25 and 27. And I went and took a shortstop, figured I'd have enough money for the catcher I was eyeing, who was cheap, but I just missed that with like 2 picks to go. The last player who was cheap enough so that on round 28 I could take my catcher went. So I ended up taking Chris Brown as a more expensive pinch hitter than I would usually take. And then a disposable player in round 28 who I'm going to release for a loan to get a catcher.
And I think that catcher that you speak of went to me because I drafted my backup catcher in the 25th or 26th round.
No,
Wasn't him? Oh, okay.
The catcher I'm looking at is still in the pool.
Oh, it went to Dayne. Dayne's
The
raising
catcher
his-
I'm looking at has not been drafted.
Oh, okay. Well, I think this is a good time to welcome Matt Muncy to the show. Dodger Blue, seen you online and everything a bunch of times. I don't know if I've ever played in a league with you, but welcome to the show. Welcome to the league. Tell us about what you think about this league and this draft and how your team's looking right now, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here. I think it was a great experience. I loved the format. I love the extra twist of the kind of the competition. I enjoyed some of the banter. I was picking 12th, so that was interesting, having to wait and kind of see everybody that I wanted in the first round go off the board. And, at that point, I thought Grace was going to fall. I had mentioned a couple of minutes ago, and I could have a nice left-handed base. I ended up going with Gio Gonzalez, who I wanted and I think is a good value, but I think I grabbed him just because I've tried to draft him 8 times in regular leagues, and I don't think I've ever gotten him. But I don't know that he's, the number 2 that I needed, and right now he is my number 2.
He was my second pick if I had him.
Okay. All right. Well, that's, I guess, a little bit reassuring. Right now, I don't have a leadoff hitter. I'm going to be batting Paul O'Neill leadoff against righties to start the season. I mean, he gets on base a little bit. I don't know what else to do. And against, lefties, I'm just going to close my eyes and maybe do a random sort. I do have Tadahito Iguchi, who I ended up kind of picking. So I timed out in round 3 and ended up with Iguchi there. And then I backed that up with Red Oldham, who I like. I think he's a good value, another value pitcher. But at that point, I saw, a lot of great players gone. I had a ton of money left. I had Jim Edmonds and some stuff. And, was just trying to kind of patch together from there. So I should have, instead of that Iguchi pick, I really needed Home Run Johnson, or at the time I wanted Pie Trainer. When Trainer went, third base went really quick. So
that's why I took him there. And I hated third base values.
Yeah, and I was afraid Kel was going to go
now. Right.
That's why I took Mora.
That's why I took Wright so early.
Yeah, third base went quick, and so the one benefit I had was I was able to see everybody had it full, and I wanted Kel. He was the last decent guy left, even if I don't love the value. So I just put him at the end of the draft, knowing that nobody else was going to draft him. So that was the only position that kind of clarified itself for me. Okay, fine, I'll grab Kel, save the $8-9 million, just put him towards the end of the draft. So I have a little bit of work to do. When Billy Hamilton went, I was sure he was going to keep falling, and I was sure I was going to get my leadoff guy. I reacted and grabbed Yant with my very next pick because I thought, I am not going to have $15 extra million sitting around when this is all done, looking at Thomas and deciding whether or not I'm going to stomach trying to play him at first. So it'll be interesting. I don't think my division has any team that I see as a kind of a clear favorite. I think the West looks strongest if I'm just looking kind of overall at team construction. I think there's 3 great teams. I don't get Bod's team, but I know he has some secret stuff with, DHing and pinch hitters and pitchers and stuff, and he does well in this format. Or the no DH format. So, I'm sure he has something up his sleeve. But aside from that, there look like 3 clear contenders in that division to me. So it'll be interesting to play out.
Speaking of thanks, Matt. Speaking of the divisions, you know what? Let's take a look at them right now. See if everybody could see the screen here. And so here it is, how it mapped out in the league. So it looks like Tyler and I are in a division together. And then it would be I don't know, Edmonds and stuff. So it'd be Matt and Dayne are in a division together, and then it looks like all the rest. We've got a whole division minus Chris Baud on the show today too in the West. So yeah, so we got David, Steve, Craig, and Baud in the West. So maybe it's good for us that all the rest of those guys wound up in the West. Dayne, tell me why you're not so scared of the West, because you've just been chomping at the bit, smiling there this whole time, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Because they're just going to beat the crap out of each other. Only one team's coming out of the division anyway. What do I care?
Exactly.
I mean, all I have to do so a couple of things on this, value versus whatever. I think in these limited pool drafts, it depends on where you draft. If you are in the first few picks, you have to take the greatest player you can get, full stop, because you're not picking again until the end of the second round. And if you're picking late in the first round, then all of the first set of great players is probably gone, in which case then you should take value. So it's kind of, should somebody in the first 3 or 4 picks have taken Grace? Hell no, that would be stupid. But someone taking Grace in the latter part of the first round makes sense. But if you would you take Mark Grace over Hank Aaron?
Nope.
I would take a Mark Grace type player at 2 different positions rather than take Hank Aaron and a cheap player at another position.
So who's the second one?
Was there
maybe Frankie Frisch? I don't know.
I was close to. My original. So I took Hank Aaron. Rick, who isn't here, but just before me, took Mike Mussina, and I was probably going to take Mussina if he'd fallen to me. I picked Hank Aaron, but I was pretty close to just picking Mark Grace. I kept second guessing myself because, I think what you're saying, Dayne, is the conventional wisdom, and I'm sure it's. I don't know. I legitimately don't know where I fall on that question of whether you should take the best player or the best value at that point.
I wasn't worried about being able to spend my money productively. I could spend it all on one player, or I could spend it on a few players. There were enough players of 7 million plus that even if you don't have anybody who's 10 million, you're still going to have a good team.
Yeah, sure. Well, Matt brought up a good point earlier, and it led me to talk about who I wanted to pick first in the draft and didn't. I was kind of thinking one of the same things that Matt Muncy is that, the third base was limited. The guy who I had my eye on from the beginning, which I knew nobody else was going to probably pick first, was Wade Boggs. That was the guy that I wanted to kind of have a overall, offensive guy you could probably rely on for the whole entire season. I mean, he was a little bit expensive at 17 mil, but I wanted to find a guy that maybe nobody else would take. And I was surprised that he kind of fell to the second round to me. And once that happened, I had to take him.
You think he belongs at third base or first base?
I think I could use him at either one, depending on the needs of my team. He's probably got a little better D at third, but I know a lot of people use him at first. So I kind of have those options to do there, in case injuries or something pops up for me. I could keep him on the field.
I think he's very good at first and average at third, isn't he?
Yeah. My plan was for him to play first base all along. Yeah. But if I need him, I can throw him over to third and I've got a couple other guys that can play first on my team as well.
See, that's why I would have drafted Boggs second if he'd have fallen to me. And I almost drafted him first, but shortstop's even less deep than third base.
Shortstop is so barren, I still don't have one. And the draft is over.
The nice thing about Morgan is I was ready to play him at either third or short, and they were sorry.
So second and short are second and short have fewer than third. So if once Morgan goes, then you're if you want to, if you don't want to have somebody super weak at second or short, if you want to have at least one strong player there, then you now have to take a shortstop. That's the way I looked at it. And if I walk past Barry Larkin, who is a Michigan man, I would never forgive myself. I actually watched Barry Larkin play in college, walking to the stadium from my apartment, which was a block from the baseball stadium. So I walked over. In the summers, I walked over and watched games with this kid Larkin because I had to see this kid who was such a wonder kid. He was in college. He was a phenom, and that team went to the College World Series. And who else is on that team? There are a couple of other. The whole infield, I think, made it to the MLB, but it's either Larkin or Boggs. And and to me, it was kind of like, well, shortstop shallower. And I know Larkin's one of Bob Jackman's favorites. And if he's one of Bob Jackman's favorites, well, then I can't go wrong if I pick him. So, but I think you just have to, your plan's going to get blown up no matter what you do in these limited pool leagues.
Yeah. And my plan was just kind of going in, this is my first classic league. So yeah, everybody's happy about that. Oh, so glad to see Matt's finally playing classic. All right. With a bunch of these guys, but my strategy going in is I was like, all right, I'm probably not going to spend that much on marquee players. I might get 2 or 3 tops and then try to draft from there. So obviously I was going to go for a great pitcher and a great hitter, then just kind of go from there. And so that's why Boggs stood out to me. I was like, I don't think anybody else is going to take him this early. He's versatile. He's solid. He's pretty good. But I also knew I needed at least one ace, and Juan Marichal was my pick for that one. Not thinking anybody would think about him first. Was he the greatest out there? No. Is he the worst? No. But I thought I could snag him, and nobody else would have their eye on him. So I got both of them.
Thought Marichal was a very solid pick.
Yeah. So he looked good to me from the get-go. So I grabbed him. And I didn't draft any 500K players in this whole draft. As a matter of fact, I don't think I drafted anybody under $1 million the whole time.
Yeah, that's when I thought you went wrong. But
probably so.
So what do you guys think about when you draft all of these value players? And I wish I would have got Melvin Mora. I really like him. But
you wanted him too?
If I got a whole bunch of Melvin Moras on my team, that's just not enough offense for me. I can't score enough runs if everybody's Melvin Mora or if everybody's Mark Grace. You need better hitters. Your offense has to roll along. It can't just be, like stuck in the mud.
Stopping everybody else's offense from rolling against you. This is a conversation we can have some other week, but to me, that's equally good. So
it's sort of equally good, but it's not equally good at the bottom of the 9th inning. Because then the run, because you can't defend. The run matters more then. Just the runs matter more, especially in this game. Maybe in real life it's not so much that way, but in this game, you watch my totals. Here's something you guys can look at. That I always do. I do this every league. I make the other team throw way more pitches than I do. I call it the game 3 philosophy, because I blow your team up. And by game 3, you don't have anybody left to pitch. You just always win game 3 with a crooked number. Like I know,
but stopping the other team from doing that to you. See, I have one of the teams that can go against you, and I'm still going to be okay in round 3. Well, other teams
you're in county.
And the reason I like my way.
I know he works better in Coors.
The reason I like my way better is if you mess up your opponent, you mess them up for the game you're playing and maybe 1 or 2 more games. If I'm that opponent and you mess me up, I'm messed up for that game and 4 more games, or at least 3, depending on where the off day follows. I don't care, about messing up my opponent beyond the 3-game series, but I care about keeping my own bullpen sound the whole time. So
I'll tell you another reason why scoring runs is actually more productive is because the computer, the manager, when he's losing, he doesn't try to win. It just starts like throwing the mop-up man out there. You know what I mean? It's not trying as hard. If you're winning 4-2, your guy seems like he's doing everything right. If you're losing 5-1, it's just like throwing the towel. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Only really
easier
late
to win. It's easier to win if you're scoring runs than if you're not.
I've had a lot of teams win that don't score runs, so I haven't. I'm not saying you're wrong.
It's just easier. I'm not saying you can win anyway. It's just easier by piling it on,
I
snowballing.
think
You score even more runs. Like they start bringing in the mop-up man, so you score even more runs.
but you don't need those runs if they're bringing
You
in the
don't,
mop-up man.
but it just works out better. You guys are going to see.
I'm wondering though, how many runs do you think a team of Melvin Moras would score? Because I feel like you might be underestimating.
What
that.
is he,
We're
like a
talking,
72 runs created guy with no power?
I'm not sure. He's got a 330 on base, something like that. So he's
I got like a 330 slugging or something too. It's not high.
I think it's not high, no, but it's not going to be zero. Right?
Somebody
No, that
pull it
team
up.
won't score a lot if you have a bunch of Melvin Morris. You won't.
Somebody pull it up and chime it
Definitely
in.
won't.
Let's check it. Let's fact check it.
What do you guys think? Do you guys think a team full of Melvin Morris can score a lot of
The
runs?
team is more.
I don't think a lot of runs. I'm not saying a lot of runs.
I don't think
I'm
I've
saying-
used Melvin Moore in 16 years.
First team I've used
Well,
him
just,
on.
you know,
His
that
price
kind
was
of a
no good
guy.
for this pool.
What about a team full of Mark Graces?
Well, if they're facing a
left-handed
For
pitcher.
me-
yeah.
righty.
I think for me, Grace is a $12 million guy against righties, and he's a $6 million guy against lefties, right? So
Yeah.
Defense.
I struggle with that disparity sometimes.
Me too. That's what I was saying in the chat.
As long as my overall team is close to balanced, I don't care too much if individual players are imbalanced. You want to hit my top players who are lefties and say, oh, I can neutralize David's better offensive players, but then all the worst players who are righty are going to be better. So I don't care.
In a tight division like the West, though, wouldn't Steve's strategy of more runs created versus more runs saved work to his advantage? You know, if you guys are all, pretty tough and competitive in a league like that, scoring more runs to me would seem like the more logical choice because you're probably going to win more close games.
Well, and
preventing
don't
runs
forget that
does that too.
division. Don't forget that division's got not one county stadium,
But
two county stadiums,
and
and a
Braves.
Braves 48-52. Like,
Do you know why I did that? I did that because I wasn't 100% sure I could put together a good pitching staff for Coors with this pool of pitchers. You know what I mean? I just wasn't sure if I could get. In hindsight, I could have, but at the time, I wasn't sure. So I knew I could in county. I knew. I didn't even worry about pitching. I didn't care at all.
Does anybody know what park I'm in?
What?
Nope.
What?
Does anybody know what
Park
park I'm in?
I picked a crazy weird
I'll
park
let you
just
know in a
to
moment.
pick something different.
Probably.
I picked Robeson Field, the old
I picked,
St. Louis stadium from the.
I picked the new one just
1914.
because it hasn't really been used. I picked Dunedin.
Anybody
Yeah,
ever played in
yeah.
Robeson Field before? The old St.
Yeah.
Louis stadium.
Yeah,
That's a popular field. It favors lefties. That's the one, right? Yeah.
Oh,
Dayne's in the Big A.
Yeah, but you know why?
Why?
Because it's the first park on the list when you.
yeah. It is. And
Actually, I don't
St.
think it is
Louis, and I said,
anymore.
"Oh, there's my park.
It's not. It's American Family Field now. Comes before Anaheim.
It is up there. It's close. It's up there. It's up at the top.
I'm going to throw something out here.
So,
Melvin
Steve, you're gonna have
Mora?
to do. No,
No, go ahead, Craig.
Go ahead, Craig.
I was going to say, from a pool perspective, you should put a post out there just to show by runs created the top 40 hitters or something, so people get an idea of, the type of offensive pool we were dealing with, which I think I said originally was not too exciting. So it
Right.
really makes you think about strategy. And then you look at that pool of players. Then you look at the draft matrix and you see these parks and you're like, what am I going to do with that pool of players with these parks in my division? And really that's where the strategy starts, right? I mean, for me, you need those two parameters first, and then you try to, philosophically, I always need my first two hitters, or at least my second and third hitters, right? Always. Doesn't mean if Randy Johnson's there, you don't take him. You can take Randy Johnson. But in general, the first 3 rounds of any draft, I've got to have my 2 best hitters and a third, whoever that third person is.
Yeah.
For the record, number 40, if you sort by OPS, is Mike Cameron.
Wow.
Wow.
Somebody's
That is
going to say
a-
something
that's
about
a-
Melvin
That's a
Mora.
name you wouldn't expect.
No, 749 OPS.
And by the way, Mora, Muncie sent this to me in a chat. Mora's split is 258, 333, and 362. So you guys were pretty close.
I have to have 5 or 6 in that top 40. I have to, right? I have to.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I think I've got 2 only: Phillips and Fox.
Dayne, did you figure out your park yet?
No. I know it starts with an A. I just know it starts with an A. But I will point something out that's going to add to the controversy here.
Uh-oh.
Melvin Mora is not even the best value third baseman in his price range.
Oh, Naring.
Naring is a better value.
I looked at Naring. I thought it was better, but Naring wasn't bad.
Naring is better because he's close in runs created, but he's very good at third. He can also play second base. I drafted both him and Rusty Staub because I could move them. I could move Naring to second if all the third basemen got taken. I mean, if I got a third baseman, or I can keep Naring at third if I wanted to go with the second baseman. I ended up getting neither, as it turned out, because your guys are a bunch of bastards. But
well, and Mora can play short. He is only fair, but I can live with a fair shot.
But my point is, I think there's also value to position flexibility in these things.
Sure.
These limited pool things.
I mean,
so
Naring is average is short too, isn't he?
Naring over Mora.
But I mean, I don't think Mora has less positional flexibility. He can play the outfield.
Yes. He's actually better in the outfield, but he's not as valuable in the outfield.
Right.
I think the West is going to beat the living crap out of each other, and I predict that Craig is going to win the West.
Oh, nice. Well, DVD, what do you think about that? What do you think about Dayne saying Craig's going to win the West? Why are you going to win it, DVD? Let's hear it.
I think I will have by far the best DER. Whether that's going to let me win it or not, I don't know. If I have to pick somebody to win the league overall, I'm going with Tyler.
Really?
Wow.
I have no confidence in my team, to be honest. I feel like I messed up my draft.
Steve, why are you going to mop the floor with these two ham and eggers who say they're going to win?
I don't know how I drafted such a good offense. Everybody's fast. Everybody's 80 runs created. Everybody can hit so good. People can field. And, my pitchers are going to get hurt, and I'm just going to let goddamn closers start 30 games and stuff. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I think my pitching will be better than you guys think.
Well, you have 35 of them, so.
Yeah.
For the record, Steve has 6 guys in the top 40 because Corey Hart is number 36. So
there you go. See, that's what I'm talking about.
That is such a weak, not Steve's team, but that is such a weak offensive pool. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it really waters down once you get to about the 800 OPS mark, right there at the, Philly Hamilton, Scott Rowland, Dahigo kind of tier, and then it just craters.
Well, Matt, what do you think about your chances in this league and your team and your division?
I think my division is open. I think all of us have kind of obvious paths for upgrades. I have no idea how the upgrades are going to work. That doesn't seem like the typical situation of sit on it and wait. I mean, there's a couple of people, maybe Andrew Jones, somebody's going to roll the dice on him. I really don't see why you would save your money for these big upgrades. So I guess I'm expecting, probably 2 or 3 upgrade kind of steps from these teams, and it's a scramble. So it'll be a little bit of a guessing game on when to spend the money. I have easy upgrades planned. I just don't know that there will be anybody there to actually execute. So we'll see. I do have my aces. I think I have enough pitching. My bullpen's good. I think I have a little pop. I'm playing in Petco. I just have no on-base percentage whatsoever. I'm playing against Rick's in Rubenstein. He's in this division too. He's got really good pitching, a lot of on-base percentage. Dayne's team is solid. We'll see how it plays out. I think I've got a decent chance.
What about you, Craig?
Well, again, I just go back to those parks. Like I never play extreme pitchers parks. It's just not something I like to do. I never play the old Fenway. I never play County. I never play Astrodome. I like, and Steve, I think I heard you say this once. I like to give, or maybe I read it. I like to give the sim a chance to do what it does, which means
Yep.
more plate appearances,
Yep.
more innings, right? Because at the end of the day, and Dayne will never share this, but some people expect 600 plate appearances to equal the value that they bought for, right? In essence. And what I try to tell people, because I play the live game a lot, I try to tell the guys in the live league, look, you can't look at those 600 plate appearances. Think of it as like 60,000, right? And you're getting a random sample of these 600 plate appearances out of that 60,000 or even 6,000. And that's the data you can expect to pull in. So if you truncate the data and the amount of times you get to the plate at the Astrodome, at County, at Old Fenway, I'm much less comfortable. I like to play Huntington Grounds because there's lots of doubles, lots of triples. I like to play the Forbes Parks, lots of doubles, lots of triples. I want to give people a chance to run themselves out of innings. I want to give people a chance to, have those outfielders with fair arms because, typically you roll out a squad against me with outfielders who can't throw. And if your settings aren't set right in your base runners, you're going to lose. And you can't do that in County. You can't do that. And so 2 counties and a Braves, I went with Shibe. I have no idea what's going to happen with that. It's not a park. I played with a bunch. I've got to hope Tony Phillips gets on base in front of Jimmy Fox. That's it. That's the strategy. It's very, limited.
I feel so bad about my park choice now. Like, I feel horrible about it.
Well, coming into this league for me, it's my first classic league that I've ever done on Diamond, on DMO. All right. And I'm playing with all you guys. And so coming in, I'm not expecting to win or to do great or do whatever. So my chances coming in, my best chance is to win a wild card spot. And that's what I have in mind, to try to somehow manage to come up with some kind of record to make the playoffs by the skin of my teeth by the end of the year. And so I wanted to have some guys that I could just kind of place in and out here and there, score enough, win enough, maybe, steal a game or two here and there to squeak out a wild card spot. And we have lost Dayne, or we lost DodgerBlue. Yeah. He's gone. Something happened. Maybe he'll be back. So I'm trying to get. I'm just trying to barely squeak in. And actually, my real goal is just not to finish last. And I think
we should throw you a party if you get 81 wins.
And I think I'm going to do that.
As a newbie,
he might be back.
You get 81 wins, that would be a fantastic victory.
81 wins. All right.
Do you guys think anybody's going to go all in right in the beginning? Do you guys think I'm going to go all in right at the beginning?
Somebody will. I don't know.
I think somebody will.
Maybe it's probably going to be me. I'm going to, there's my strategy again. It's probably me.
Well, what do you mean by that, Steve? Or what does going all in look like at the very beginning?
There's a few good players out there that I want. I might have to just reach.
It means taking a loan now. You get less money up front rather than more money later.
Taking a loan, Max. Here's something you've never had in the league is loans.
No,
before.
never.
It's a big penalty to take a loan, but you get the player now. And sometimes you don't have a shortstop at all. And there's some in the free agent pool.
Do you legitimately not have a shortstop on your team?
I legitimately don't have a shortstop on my team over like $800K.
Okay.
I don't have a good shortstop on my team.
He's got Larry Brown, average 99, Rick Auerbach, fair 116, and Andy High, poor 110.
See?
Okay.
I am not prepared. I am not prepared in the infield.
The loan question is tricky because I feel like, I know people are really successful with taking big loans in an open pool, but mathematically it's not the best move. But in a restricted pool, it becomes a lot more difficult to decide because you could hold on to the money to the most optimal point and then there's nobody left to sign.
So DVD,
I want to get a sense from the early games in the division how I'm doing. If I'm doing well, then I want to sit on my money. If I'm not, then you might see me spend it at the end of week 1.
What technically would be the max loan you could take at the very beginning with the
like 10 million-ish?
It's more a week from now than it is now because you're paying interest for the whole week, even though we're not playing any games.
I have a team starting tomorrow, so it is 9,284,000 if you do it on Sunday.
Interesting.
No, max loan is
Out of
9.4.
you
But
could have
if you
got
wait,
16,
it's
right?
16.
Yeah, it's 16 if you wait, so you're losing a big chunk of money.
Yeah, 6.5.
But you only get that 16 on the field for the
2
last
weeks,
18 games of the season.
right. Though it
But
can
if
be
you're
more
in-
than 16 if you're not spending any of it and you're collecting interest on your bank account.
Right.
And we can't tinker, so there's like no other way for me to get a shortstop, and I have to take a loan and get
Or
a
make a
shortstop.
Or you
trade.
could trade.
Well, speaking
That's
of which,
even
that's
hard because,
Ooh.
like somebody said earlier, it's hard to make a trade because I can't trade for your shortstop because you don't have two of them. You know what I mean? You don't have one to give me back.
You
well,
also
there
have-
are
I
a
have-
few. There are a few
I
of us
have
that do
Melvin
have two
Moore,
of
who
them.
I could
Barry
move to.
Larkin.
I could play Chris
Barry
Brown.
Larkin on the
I'm
block.
not going to.
Barry Larkin's on the
Larkin
block.
on the
Barry
block.
Larkin's on the
Kenny
block.
Lofton for Barry Larkin.
What's
I have
that?
to get $2 million.
What was the trade offer?
Kenny Lofton and $2 million for Barry Larkin.
Ooh, a live trade offer, Dane. What's your reaction?
Hang
I'll
on.
probably just sign a shortstop. It'll be way easier.
What's
Well,
the difference in salaries?
So let's play charades. Let's play charades.
2
No,
2 words.
no. It's a
Victory.
letter.
Peace.
Peace.
V.
Oh, V.
No,
V.
it's a letter. V. And this is my toe.
Veto. Vetoed.
Yeah, that's
Been
terrible. I'm probably just going to sign a
vetoed.
shortstop and trade Matt a left-handed reliever for a right-handed reliever since he doesn't have a left-hand and I got too many of them.
Well, I actually have 3 of them. I got 3 lefties on my staff, and I was just going to end the show on that. Trade talk. Is anybody in business for trades going into before we start the season? Craig, are you open for business?
100%.
All right, Tyler.
I'm definitely open to it.
You're open. Tyler? Have you ever completed a trade?
I made one preseason trade once, but it was pretty inconsequential. The tricky thing because I was looking at seeing if there's anybody it would make sense for me, because I know Steve talked on our message boards about maybe not liking that he had Kenny Lofton. So I was looking to see if there's any way I could offer him something for Kenny Lofton. And the tricky part is I can't, so say I don't know, just making up names, but say I gave him Home Run Johnson for Kenny Lofton. Now I don't have anyone to play shortstop, and he doesn't have anyone to play center field. So
that is the problem with the trades.
It's not like in real life where you've got this huge minor league system that you can draw on to fill in holes at the major league level.
So
If anybody
Steve,
needs a backup second baseman, I'll trade Dib Williams for a $500K player, and I'll take the minimum amount of cash. I'll take the 10% cut.
What was you going to say, Craig?
Vern Stevens is out there for you at shortstop, and so is Maury Wills. Top 2
Yeah, I
guys.
know. Yeah, I'm thinking about both those guys and Tony Fernandez.
Oyster Burns might be available for
Oyster
you.
Burns could very easily be the what's the hell's my name of my team? Oh yeah, Mr. T might be Mr. T's shortstop. Oyster Burns.
We'll talk about
I ain't
that
against
trade.
it. I'm not against it.
I'm not against. I'm open for a left-hander for Oyster Burns. I'm open to see what you got.
Hey, so Steve, I got a dash, but maybe we could do this after like week 3 or after week 6, or like 1/3 of the season, 2/3 of the season kind of thing.
Okay.
And then be a lot more fun to throw darts at each other.
Yeah.
That sounds good. We'll have a couple of different
Can I say one more
league
thing?
updates. Go ahead.
Are you guys surprised at how much you learned about capybaras during this draft? I mean, seriously.
Well, not everybody was on the chat, but on Facebook chat, yes.
I wrote 100 capybara jokes. Is that how you say it? Capybara?
I don't even know how to
takes-
say it.
A capybara takes this much long to do whatever. Just
I will
about
say
as much
this,
time as it takes for Tyler to make his pick in the draft.
A capybara and a Wolverine
Oh my
walked into a bar. Neither one of them did anything.
Just like
Tyler
Dayne
would
Tyler
call that
in the
draft,
draft.
I would write another joke.
I
Boy,
would
did he
summarize.
sell
I
it.
think the thing that I think it's incredibly balanced. I've never seen a limited pool league be so balanced. I thought, because when I've been in limited pool leagues like this, you always see somebody who messes up, and messes up a lot. and then their team sucks, and you kind of cringe when you see it. But I didn't see it. I know some of you thought Matt waited too long to spend his money, but he ended up in pretty good shape, I think. And if you can get value early and then still have money to get Robin Yount at the end, well, I mean,
yeah, I love Robin Yount.
Great value. He's
I
a
wish
great
I had
player.
Robin Yount right about now.
Yeah, I thought hard. I love Robin Yount, so it was hard for me not to pick him. It really was. Like he's a guy. He's one of those guys that I might, if he's available, it's like, well, got to pick him. Just because I'm a fan of his, but I didn't take him.
Yeah, it did seem that the values kind of evened out. Whatever money I saved with Gio Gonzalez and Red Oldham, and I mean, I just spent it later on getting Yount and Kell to catch up and get my players. So I guess 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Does anybody here, have a prediction on the East? I haven't heard much about.
Well, that might be a good way to a little last thing to talk about here. I'm going to share the divisions here real quick, and we'll talk.
I know
about
we've got
it.
Tyler. Somebody guessing Tyler for the whole thing, but aside from that, we haven't really talked about the East. I was just looking at the teams myself.
No, we haven't talked about the East that much. So me and Tyler are in the East. Everybody's picking Tyler. Tyler's going to win. Oh, Tyler's going to do this. Well, you know what, Tyler? You're in my division, son, and I'm going to whoop that ass. I'm saying it right now. No, I think
I'm not as confident with my team as I would like to be. I feel like I kind of messed up the draft a bit. When I picked Lapata, I never know if I'm saying these names right, the catcher I have, I was really looking at Campanella, and I second-guessed myself because I thought if I get Campanella, I might run out of money in the rest of the draft. That turned out it would not have been a problem, and I think my team would have been a lot better with Campanella. And I felt like I ended up using that extra $4 million or whatever it would be a little inefficiently.
Well, this league looks pretty competitive, Tyler, because we got Papa G and Ton's Maniac, Tonzilla, playing against us here, a couple of experienced guys. But what does everybody have to say about Papa and Tons being in this division with me and Tyler? You guys have played him before.
Tons is good. I mean, he's a great owner. And he's got a nice team. I mean, when you look at it, I was a little perplexed that he took Devlin when he's already got Monroe. But unless he plans on playing Monroe at short. But that's a pretty strong team, although it's kind of weak on the pitching. Pitching, it's interesting. And I also was surprised at how many teams went with weak bullpens, or the thought that somehow numbers can make up for quantity can somehow make up for quality.
You looking at Steve Dayne specifically?
No names.
He does have like 14 pitchers or something. It felt like
He's got 12 on his active roster.
We have more here. So Matt Huett, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, so 13 on your active roster, 2 more in the pen.
That's
right.
Too much.
That's 15.
I'm going to trade one pitcher or something. So
yeah, those arms are going to come in handy.
And I think
Calling
Chris
it right
Boggs
now.
might have only 8 pitchers.
Yeah, he does that a lot.
I only have 8 pitchers as well. For now.
I usually keep 8 or 9 active, but I have 11 overall.
I like to get switchy in the bullpen,
Yeah, me too.
Well, I like to get switchy in the bullpen.
I'm not sure how I'm going to use a lot of the guys that I have, and I have 6 starters that I can kind of weave in and out who would also any of the guys would be good to pin. Obviously, Juan Marichal is, my ace. How is he not? But he's pretty much the only really top tier pitcher I got. And all the rest of my guys are kind of 3 million, 2 million type of dudes. But they're almost all righties. I think I have a couple of lefty starters, but I don't know if I'm going to start those guys. Those guys might be in my pin. But I like to have a deep bullpen because I want to stay competitive and I want somebody to try to save a game for me here or there.
I feel like a lot of your pitchers are going to get like less than 10 innings all year in the standard era with that many pitchers.
Not the way I'm going to manage, because I'm going to get pissed off at some guy, take him out, send him to the minors, trade him, release him. So we'll see. My team could look very different before next Monday when the season starts. So I think that's a good time to wrap it up.
Just remember, this isn't single season. Transactions are going to cost you.
Well, you just remember when this one's over, we're doing an SSG league, and we're going to separate the men from the boys. All right, we're going to do it for real. But yep, Craig, thanks for being on the show. Matt, love to have you guys back sometime. Dayne for showing up late, but you showed up. So Dayne,
I got the word late.
Yep. DVD. Yes, Steve's fault. DVD, Tyler, Steve, everybody. Thanks for watching again. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter, YouTube, everywhere else on the interwebs. This is the Turnbuckle Bros saying adios.
Ciao.
Turnbuckle Brothers, man.